They say the chains of habit are too light to feel until they are too heavy to break. Picture this: a billionaire who could have anything. Jets, yachts, mansions on every coast. The kind of life we see in movies. But he didn't choose that life. He chose something far rarer: simplicity instead of golden palace. He stayed in the same modest house he bought decades ago. No bodyguards at the gate. No army of servants. Just bricks, memories, and habits. A house that looked ordinary from the outside, but inside carried the greatest wealth of all: discipline. He once said with a smile, "It would drive me crazy to own 10 houses." Why? Because money, he believed, was a tool, not a trophy. And tools should work for you, not chain you down. But how did this man build such discipline in a world full of temptation? The answer lies in the smallest, most ordinary routines of his daily life. Routines that shaped the destiny of billions. Every morning, while the world rushed into luxury cars and fancy cafes, this man drove to the simplest of places: a drive-thru, not a glamorous breakfast table with chandeliers above. No golden plates. Just a paper bag passed through a small window. But here's the detail that reveals everything about him. He didn't always order the same thing. His choice depended on the market. On days when the stock market was down, he bought the cheapest meal, just a plain sandwich. On days when business was good, he allowed himself a slightly nicer breakfast, never more than a few dollars. And here's what's fascinating. He didn't swipe a shiny black credit card. He didn't toss a $100 bill. Instead, he reached into a little cup in his car, counting out coins, exact change, piece by piece. To the outside world, that looked like being cheap. But to him, it wasn't about money. It was about mindfulness, about reminding himself every day that how you handle the small things is how you will handle the big ones. But breakfast was just the beginning. His real wealth came from another habit, one that most people today completely ignore. For years, he drove an old car, not because he had to, not because he couldn't buy the fastest sports car or the newest luxury brand, but because it worked. Imagine that: one of the richest men alive, quietly rolling through town in a car that looked like it belonged to a schoolteacher. No one turned their head. No one gasped. And that was exactly how he liked it. Even the idea of private jets, which most billionaires by the moment they can, didn't tempt him for decades. He didn't purchase one until he was well into his 70s. And even then, he laughed at himself. He once joked that calling his jet the Indefensible was the only honest name he could give it, because he knew it wasn't necessary. It was just comfort. And comfort was never his highest goal. Here was his secret. Living below your means is not a sacrifice. It is freedom. But the real test of his philosophy didn't come from cars or jets. It came from something even more ordinary: the clothes he wore and the phone he carried. Step into his closet, and you won't find racks of designer suits lined up like soldiers. You won't see golden cufflinks or diamond watches glittering under special lights. No, you'd see simple shirts, ordinary trousers, and a man who had no interest in logos. He dressed not to impress, but to live. In his pocket, not the latest luxury phone, not the newest gadget with a glowing brand, just a simple, practical phone. A tool, nothing more. Why? Because he understood a truth most people ignore. Spending to impress others is the fastest way to become a prisoner of your own image. From childhood, he had practiced his mindset. As a boy, he saved more than he spent. He tracked every penny. He invested instead of wasting. Tiny habits, repeated day after day, grew into empires. And here's the striking part. Today, even after becoming one of the wealthiest people in history, he still clips coupons. He still splits restaurant bills. Not because he has to, but because it is who he is. He lives rich not in things, but in time. Not in possessions, but in freedom. But freedom is fragile. Most people lose it without even noticing. And the reason is hidden in how they use their money, or rather, how their money uses them. Most people, when they get paid, do the same thing. They spend first. They chase shiny things. They buy what looks good, what feels good, what tells the world, look at me, I'm successful. And then, if anything is left, they save it. But not him. He flipped the order. He saved first. Then, only from what remained, he lived. And that one choice, repeated across decades, built a fortune so massive it could buy entire cities. Not because he earned more than others. Many people earn plenty. But because he controlled what others could not, their hunger to show off. Here was his lesson to the world. Money does not make you disciplined. Discipline makes you money. He could retire decades ago and live a life of endless leisure. But he didn't. Why? Because when you live below your means, life doesn't feel like a trap you must escape. Instead, it feels like a game you want to keep playing. But while luxury often comes with golden chains, his simplicity gave him something priceless, something most billionaires never truly taste. Luxury looks beautiful from the outside. Polished cars, glittering homes, endless possessions. But with every new thing comes another responsibility, another worry, another chain. The more you own, the more you must protect. The more you display, the more you fear losing. Luxury, he believed, was often just another kind of prison. That's why a simple life gave him something most rich people secretly miss. Space. Space to think, space to breathe, space to wait for the right moment. While others rushed to spend, he waited. While others panicked in fear, he stayed calm. His money was not there to decorate his life. It was there to work quietly, patiently, multiply in the background. True wealth, he knew, was not loud. It was not flashy. It was peaceful, steady, invisible to anyone who wasn't looking closely. But behind all these choices, behind the cars, the coupons, the simple breakfast, there was one final belief that defined his entire life. For him, wealth was never about the size of the house, the price of the suit, or the brand on the car. It was about peace of mind. He taught the world that the richest person is not the one who spends the most, but the one who needs the least. Because when you save first, when you live below your means, when you refuse to let status control you, you become untouchable. You're no longer a slave to things. You are free to keep building, to keep learning, to keep creating, not for money, but for love of the game. And that's why, even in his 80s, he still walks into his small office every day with a smile, not to chase more wealth, but to practice a habit that built his entire life: discipline. The chains of habit are real. They can either weigh you down forever, or, if chosen wisely, they can lift you higher than you ever imagined. So ask yourself tonight, are your habits your prison, or are they your wings? Thank you for watching and learning with me today. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear. What is one small habit you want to build starting today?